you have any specific questions on the game?
I have one question to spells.
Okay, fire away.
It's just trying to check if I understand it correctly. That if a spell hits, then it instantly takes effect, right? That's all it does basically. So if there's a hit, there's the effect, and if it's a teleport, you get teleported. If you go home, you go home.
Yeah, so let's, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. If you guys want, you can follow the you can open that up so you can see what he's talking about. So I zoomed in on some spells here, um, and you can see that some of the spells have this little target symbol. Okay, so
Uh,
that requires that you actually have to have a hit, just as if you were casting or if you were swinging a weapon, right? And so, open gate, which can be used on yourself. And by the way, it's worth noting that if you are ever targeted by a spell with a target symbol, you can voluntarily choose to have it hit you. And so,
mm,
so in this case, you could actually open gate. You can use that to move around the map. You can also use it to teleport a monster away from combat with you, but you have to hit it. And so the
mhm.
attack speed on your attack speed compared to their maneuver speed is going to determine if that's going to hit. And contrast that to this air sword here, where it doesn't have the target symbol, and so what that means is it just, like you said, takes effect when it is cast, and the timing of when it is cast is your attack speed, right? So this air sword, for example, it appears, but you don't actually get to target anything till next round. So if I was the conjurer and I was casting this air sword, I would most likely put no spell cubes in the speed because I'm not going to be able to use it that round anyway, and put everything into maneuver, knowing that I'm going to try and dodge attacks, have the air sword appear at the end of the round, and then start swinging with that air sword next turn. Does that answer your question, Bear?
Yeah, yeah. For and so but it was in relation to the a fight against the Titan, who's the guardian of the. I
Y-
can't remember.
Yeah, and he probably did
Um,
this to you, right? He teleported you.
yeah. So when it says teleport on the Titans.
Yep.
So that's the same thing basically. So when he
Yeah.
makes a hit, that's yeah.
And so let's actually take that exact example just to quickly walk through it. It has to be targeted. It has a pretty long length. So if there's
Yeah.
a tie, right, it's probably going to go first, and it is instantaneous. That's what the lightning bolt means. Now, I haven't put this in the rules yet, but there's going to be a monster compendium that will explain like exactly how that teleport works when cast by the Titan. Okay, so don't you worry, we'll get that in there. Because right now I just have teleport on there, and so
Yeah.
so if you
But
like, yeah, go
turns
ahead.
out I played it correctly anyway. So that was because that was the logical kind of
Yeah,
way to handle it.
yeah, and the Titan there has an attack speed of 2, so it's a fairly fast attack.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and if you look in there's a designer diary I did. Chimarir the sorcerer, he gets turned to vapor by a lich. Later, he's trying to win the game, and a Titan appears and teleports him to the other side of the map, away from everything of value that he can get to win the game. And I end up losing for that very reason. And so I love those thematic moments like that. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, you are very welcome. Any other questions for me from any of you?
Yes, I do. This is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Um, I'm not able to see your live stream, so I'll just listen. And I'll ask. My question is about armors.
Yes.
if you look at the hero board, what what armor piece can be wounded?
What armor piece? Can you help me understand that? Just explain a little bit more so I
Like the
understand.
hell, if you wound a character, we know you could wound a helmet, right? It could be damage
Yeah, so
or shield or plate armor.
yeah, so let's make sure we use the right terms just so that there's clarity for people who watch the video afterwards. Wounding is when you move a cube from, and I'm going to do some things on screen. I know you can't see it, Jim, but when you move a box from the a cube from the healthy box to the wounded box, right? And that happens when you get hit but are not killed, even if you have armor on. When armor is damaged, that means that it's hit with the correct with a weight that is equal to how much the armor value of that particular thing. Let's actually do this. I'm going to grab an armor out of here just so that I can show that. So okay, so I've grabbed leathers, and so if I have a character and I have leathers in place, right, that only has an armor value of 1. So if an attack hits me and it has a strength of 2 or higher, literally the armor gets destroyed and I take a wound. I have to move a cube from my healthy box to my wounded box. If I am hit with a strength of 1, then my leather armor is damaged. I put a pink cube on it to signify that it is damaged, and then I take a wound. Does that make sense, Jim?
That's the general idea. Like in Magic Realm, you have the shield, you have the
Yep.
helmet, and you have the armor.
Yep.
Is a gauntlet or anything else, can that be wounded?
So again, I think the term is damaged, and the answer to that is no. Armor is the only thing that can be damaged. Everything else is either functional or not. There are ways to remove treasures and items from the game by either selling them or donating them to one of the civilization locations to earn legend points. But no, only armor gets damaged.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, if we have armor, we have to use it. We cannot put it in the backpack. Am I correct?
Yeah, and so let's give a quick answer to that question because that's come up before, right? Yeah, yeah, you can. So number one, you can put anything in your backpack, and when you do, it's face down. Backpack is the term I used, but what it really means is like the stuff you drag along with you. And so the assumption is the backpack is actually stuff you maybe have hidden off in the side or something along those lines, right? So you can put things that are heavier than what you can normally wield in your backpack and it doesn't count because it's face down. Okay, so let's start with that statement. So if I found a plate mail and I'm a rogue and I go, well, I can't wear this, it's too heavy for me, I don't have enough might cubes, you can throw it in your backpack and sell it to a merchant later. Okay? So anything can go in your backpack and it's put face down. There's another aspect which is what if I have this leather armor here, but I don't have a helmet, and a monster hits me? Does it hit the armor? The reality of that, so the answer to that question is I didn't have time to fully flesh out the rules for the Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to have about one more paragraph added in there that explains how that works. Right now the rules are, yeah, it always hits your armor. The reality is let's say you're a barbarian wearing leather armor. Your barbarian is so tough you might actually want to take that hit to the face instead of losing your armor because your barbarian has just got so much health. And so I'm play testing those final rules as to how exactly I want that to work. I needed about another week of time before the Kickstarter campaign. I just didn't get to it. Okay.
Got it. Got it. How many items can a hero carry? Is there a weight limit?
No.
Okay.
We've gamified that. You could have your backpack can be pretty massive, my friend.
Okay. Like
So
Santa Claus, right?
it's kind of, yeah, there you go. It's Santa Claus's backpack. Now, so if you think about it, those top 12 spaces, those are your active items, and those, it's 12 items. There's one treasure that gives you some more spaces, but anything in your backpack, you can just build a big pile. That's where you keep your missions that are underway, and that's always face down. And the reason that's face down is you don't have to reveal to anyone what you have. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to shift my next question about treasure sites.
Yes.
Let's suppose a wilderness tile.
Yep.
Can it contain? I know for sure it could contain one site token, or just one treasure site location. What is the maximum?
Yeah, so if you again, I'm going to show this, Jim, as I walk through it, just for sake of example, for folks. But let's say there are two. So the short answer, let's give the short answer before I start getting into a detailed answer. Short answer is one of the wilderness tokens goes in each tile, and that wilderness tile is obviously matches the color of the tile. So if you move into mountains, you will be placing a red wilderness token in that tile. If it shows a site, then you're going to grab from the pool of site tokens, and that's how you can get a treasure site that's listed on a woods tile, like the shrine. You could have that appear in the mountains or caves. Okay. There's a special token in the mountain terrain pack and the cave terrain pack. One is the Forgotten City and one is the Dwarven Runes. When those are revealed, let's see if I can pull one just to show it. When those are revealed, that's not it. No. When what you do is you grab one additional token from each of the terrain packs in play. So there it is right there. So if I have my Dwarven Runes here, right? So if I pull this Dwarven Runes token and I'm playing with all three of those terrain packs, I immediately grab one cave, one mountain, and one forest token to place in the tile. And that's how you can get something like, you theoretically could get the Dwarven Runes appearing in the woods, or you could get the, a cave token appearing in the mountains. Does that make sense, Jim?
Yes. So if we go by that example, would it make sense that the maximum a tile can have are 3 treasure sites?
Correct. Because and let's walk through that, right? I move into a mountain tile. I pull a wilderness token. It shows the Forgotten City. I pull one from the mountains, the woods, and the caves, and they all are site tokens. I'm moving 3 sites to that particular mountain tile. Absolutely correct.
Got it. Okay, one last question.
Sure.
It's about the cleric. There's a so-called class advantage.
Yes.
Called the divine protection.
Yes.
How does that relate to what we're talking about here?
So, how does that? Yeah.
Let me read it.
Yeah.
Divine.
Go ahead.
Divine protection says cleric may reroll a treasure site result when they are in a clearing containing the altar, shrine, or monolith treasure sites.
Yep.
The new result applies only to the cleric's tile.
Yep. So, and that actually is a typo that I'm fixing. I've actually fixed in the rules. I just haven't uploaded them. It actually applies to all of the treasure sites that have an undead monster in it. So it actually applies to the crypt, the altar, the catacombs, and the shrine. And what that represents is divine protection. So let's say that I'm in a tile, I'm the cleric, right? And we do a monster roll and that treasure site comes up, and therefore the demon is going to come to my site because I'm at the altar, right? What I do is I can choose to re-roll that die, right? And it doesn't affect everybody else. The treasure site symbol still applies to everybody else, but in that one tile, whatever I roll applies. So if I roll another site, the demon is still coming. So it is possible, but less likely that the cleric will encounter those monsters.
Okay, let me just ask this way: is this an empty tile that, because I know that once you visit a tile, you don't draw another wilderness token. So this is an empty tile, the cleric goes in, he draws the wilderness token, and the result is altar. And then he says, okay, I'm going to cast divine protection that evening. Is that right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, not quite. The way it works is if I draw that site token and I draw the altar, which is where the demon comes, the altar appears in the tile. The cleric can go loot that thing with a little bit more confidence that he's not going to encounter the demon. It's during the summoning roll that applies. So when I do the summoning roll, and again I'm going to just show this for folks. So when I do the summoning roll, if I roll this result right here, which is the treasure site, normally the demon is coming to the altar. So I hope that cleric is prepared. The demon's coming. The cleric can say, I'm going to invoke divine protection. I'm going to re-roll that die one time. And so it's less likely that the demon will appear at the altar because of the cleric's divine protection. Does that make sense?
Almost. The re-roll is the part. Okay, I see it now.
Where did I go? There we go. So yeah, so the thing to remember is that divine protection applies strictly to the die roll when a site result. It's very situational. If I'm playing the cleric, and let's say I'm playing a solo game as the cleric, if I stumble upon those sites that have a treasure that have the demon or the wraith or any of those monsters that are the protector of that tile, for everybody else there's a 1 in 6 chance every turn that monster is going to appear because I roll this die. For the cleric, it's different. It's a 1 in 36 chance if he wants it, because if I roll a site symbol, I say, you know what, I want to re-roll that one. I re-roll the die, and the only way the demon's coming to the altar is if I roll another site symbol. And so that's a 1 in 36 chance, yeah.
So it is a summoning die that you re-roll.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that wasn't clear when I read that part. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll make sure I'll take another look at the text there, so thank you for calling that out, Jim. If there's and I'll see if there's anything that I need to reword there to make it clearer. Hello, Pablo and Fencer. How are you folks?
Hello. Hello. All good.
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm right now I'm exporting the video from a playthrough that we did 2 nights ago with Pablo, myself, and Fencer. A little foreshadowing, I die. And I think both of you guys were doing very well. So I'm rendering that now so that I can upload it to YouTube and so everybody can watch through that. It was a pretty epic game. We had some cool, fun things happen.
Yeah. Okay.
So any questions for me? Any other questions for me? Jim's been asking some good ones. Pear had a great one.
I'll wait until other.
Go ahead, Jim. I don't think Pablo and Fencer and Pear are shy. They'll speak up if they have a good one.
I have problems with the graphic icons. There are too many of them.
Yeah, so in that regards, Jim. And Jim, are you East Paladin on Board Gig?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, great.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure I connect. So I've committed. So the iconography is explained in the section that is relevant to that icon. Some folks have asked for a more comprehensive, like either a sheet or a page in the rules that has all the icons on one page, so you can just look and find it. And I've committed to creating that, so I will have that for the you'll have that in your game.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Other questions? Pablo, Fencer, have either of you guys encountered? I know you were playing last night, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, we played 4 players, no, Spencer?
yes, we tried a four-player game with a new person, a newcomer,
Okay. And
but we didn't finish the game.
say again. Sorry.
But we couldn't finish the game.
Why is that?
It was kind of late.
Oh.
We started was already late, so we had
I got
to
it.
end. Also, the newcomer died.
Yeah.
I think that
I
was a
mean,
good point to end the night.
yeah, is that probably not appropriate that the designer laughed at that, huh?
Well, happens
It
happens
does
to the
happen.
best of us.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what I'm going to
It's a
claim when I
dangerous.
got killed in our game.
Yeah, but it was really fun. I mean, I don't know which one I like more, Explore the Realm or Open Realm.
Yeah.
I like both of them. I don't know which one you like more, Scott.
Um. Yeah. Tough to say. Open realm. The nice thing about it is you can know where to go and know where things are. So you can kind of plot out your actions and maybe even your destiny a little bit more accurately. Um, I usually, I almost always recommend that for new players, and the reason being, explore the realm. You have a lot less control, right? You flip a tile, and that's what's there. And so, if you were to flip something that was more difficult, um, I think that's exciting and challenging for players who know the game. But if you don't know the game, that you could theoretically get yourself into a situation where you just make it a lot harder for yourself.
The one thing was a little bit frustrating was that Fencer explored like 5 times from one road, and he couldn't get a tile that fit.
Right. So he
So
probably
that
was.
was,
Yeah, you have to be careful about if you explore and you're not in a if you're in a space that's got a lot of tiles around it, that can happen. Yeah.
yeah, that happened. But I think I really, really like Explore the Realm. Uh, and it changes a little bit what I experienced with Magic Realm also. So I also enjoy that too.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just take a quick moment. In the normal in what's called open realm, you build the map. You put all, and I'm sharing my screen if for those who want to watch, but you take all these tiles and you put them in a bag, or in this case, you put them in a pile. And in real life, you put them in a pile, right? And you just dump them in the bag, and then you deal them out to everybody, and then you literally just build the map, which is actually a lot more fun, sadly, than you would think. If you're playing, and then what happens is everybody enters the map just from any map edge, so you know the map. If you play Explore the Realm, it's different. You take one random civilization tile, you put it in the middle of the board, you put the civilization location out on the map, and at a random site. I've just thrown it on a clearing, and then everybody starts there. And what you do is you explore. You take this explore action, and then you can rotate a tile, flip it to any orientation, and you put it in place. And so that's how I was saying that if you're playing a game where and you're totally new, maybe this is a really hard tile. And so it's possible, like, this is a great example, right? Like this tile, if I had explored off of here, well, I can't place that tile, so it goes back in the bag, right? And I lose my explore action. So then I come in, I explore again. And so what's cool is you don't know where anything is, which is really fun, right? To discover new things. But you could get yourself in a little bit of hot water. You played an enchanter last night, right, Pablo?
Yeah, I love it. I tried Discord. Discord is a spell that is, I mean, new to the similar games of this. I've never seen a spell like that, but you
Yeah.
make
Did you get it?
you,
Did you hit with it?
no, I couldn't hit.
Yeah.
But I was preparing for it. I enchanted the tile with gold mana
Yep.
so that it was easier for me to cast Discord a few times.
Yep.
The difficult part of Discord is that you have to hit both
Oh,
targets.
Yep.
But once you hit both targets, they will fight each other until one of the other dies.
So
So it's kind of it's a lot of fun.
quick point about that. So Discord, this is the spell he's talking about, and so what you do is you hit two different monsters, and in essence you make them angry at each other, and so they go at it. It's the most powerful of the enchantment spells, which are the yellow ones, and it can, in essence, not like it can take care of two monsters for you. So if you're in a clearing with three monsters, you cast Discord from hiding, make two of them fight each other, and then kill the third monster. In the end, only one of those two monsters, you literally can sit there eating popcorn watching these two monsters go at it. I kind of picture the end of the Jurassic Park movies, right, where there's always a big dinosaur fighting another big dinosaur until one's dead. And then the other thing, and this is by design, the Enchanter, you'll notice, has 3 attack speed boxes. And that's by design because that spell is useless if, say, or nearly useless, if it were configured more like the Warlock where there's only 1 attack speed box, right? Because hitting 2 monsters is really difficult. So a human enchanter it can be powerful as long as you're in a clearing with 2 monsters, because the human gives you a 4th speed box and you can usually hit a lot of monsters. Griffins are a little difficult to hit. A couple of bats, that type of thing. So anyway, that's fun. Enchanter's one of my favorite characters to play in the game.
It was a lot
I
of
think
fun.
he was trying to cast it on bats, so it was very difficult to land the spell, but it's really good.
Yeah, and I've seen people cast Discord on monsters, and then literally run out of the clearing while the 2 monsters are distracted, which again feels very Jurassic Park-ish. And then you play it out, until combat ends. So the monsters go at it. You're not even there anymore, and you're just like, well, I wonder which one wins. And it's important to note that the Enchanter does get the fame value for the monster that dies. So.
And also, you can attack the monsters that are attacking each other, right?
100%. They're not angry at you. They're angry at each other. And just to be clear, that's because these high-end spells, the top-level spells, are very powerful, right? And so that's worth noting. As opposed to the Disorient spell, which is also a yellow spell, where that monster doesn't attack. You just put them to the sidelines unless targeted. So again, if you're from hiding, you cast Discord. If you're in a clearing with 3 monsters, the Enchanter is one of the few magic users that can really do well against large numbers of monsters, because you cast Discord, 2 guys are going at it, fighting each other. Then you cast Disorient on the 3rd one, and that monster just sits there, doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
And then once one monster dies, you try and cast Discord again and make those 2 monsters fight each other. So there's this really cool kind of almost like a waterfall mechanic of how you can daisy chain these spells to do some really cool things as the Enchanter.
And you can cast it on guardians, right?
Yes. Yep. Discord. The only limitation on these spells, you'll notice that most of the enchantment spells, which obviously have to do with controlling the mind, are immune to the undead. So the Enchanter encountering undead is trouble. So hey, Cavalier. Okay. Other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Can players attack the natives?
Yes. So.
And the only reward.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And the only reward is the fame. Are there any items that we could take from them?
No.
For example, the scholars or the other like astrologers, they have stuff. Can we take them?
No. So there's you can attack the natives to get the fame value. It earns you an outlaw token, right, which can be a penalty. The game, as it is right now, is designed to. There's a fairly decent disincentive to combat the natives, right? The reason you target the natives, the more important one, is that you have you've grabbed a mission that has targeting the natives as something you want to do. So like this atrocity So the blood offerer, these red. I'm sharing my screen again, Jim, and I know you aren't seeing it, but
I can see it now. Thank
okay,
you.
great. So subdue any native, and subdual is where you're in essence using your fist. Each hit just causes one wound instead of killing anything. And then, so when you do this, you'll notice that you number one, you're subduing a native. Like people see you fighting a native, you get an outlaw token, and then you complete the mission. So almost all of the atrocities, the red ones, have something to do with doing something negative towards the natives, and that's why it's yeah. No, this one doesn't, but most of them do. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. It's usually in Dragon's Down. It's usually a bad strategy to go after the natives unless you're going that evil route and you've chosen a mission that does it. Yeah. Okay. Other questions for me?
I have a question, Scott. A design question, I guess.
Yep.
It's the why did you choose to make the hide a reaction and not an action? Is there a
There's a
good reason for that?
Great question. The biggest one, there's like 95% of the decision was the reason hide is an action in Magic Realm is because you pre-record your actions, right? So
Sure.
you make a choice of how many hides you're going to do, and if you hide on the first one, you waste the other two, right? But you have to pre-select how many you're going to do. Since there isn't this isn't a recorded movement game. You could attempt to hide. Let's say you wanted to slip past some monsters. You could attempt to hide. Oh, I failed. I'm going to hide again. Oh, I failed. I'm going to hide again. So there needed to be a risk factor to moving in. And so it couldn't be an action. It had to be a reaction. And the second part, so that's the main thing, right, is mechanically it needs to be something that only happens when you need it, unless you're doing a recorded movement game. The other thing is a thematic aspect, which I'm going to see if I can explain this well. In the hide, each action you take, think of it as like not just like, oh, I'm doing this for the first quarter of my day and then I'm doing this for the second quarter of your day. The alert action does represent rearranging your items, but it also represents how you move for the rest of the day. It's not that you spent the morning alerting and rearranging your stuff and now you can play +1 cube. It means instead of having my sword in my scabbard, instead of just walking into a clearing, I'm alert. I'm paying a lot more attention. I'm probably sneaking around the edges of the clearing to look into the clearing to see what monsters might be there, right? And the same thing with the sneak. It is a way that you're moving for the rest of the day. And I've always struggled a little bit with the idea of I could hide in Magic Realm. I could hide, and then I could run across the entirety of the map, walk to a civilization location, and I'm hidden.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So I wanted that risk factor. Halfling is one of my favorite lineages to play, and the reason is, and it's just looking straight at the odds, right? What are the odds that you are going to... Anybody have a guess as to what the odds are that you're going to be able to hide? That you'll be able to hide if you didn't sneak?
30%.
What is it?
30%.
Yeah, so let me actually pull this up so I'm giving a real answer. So if you look at those hide dice, how many sides of it are how many sides are noises? There's 2 of them, right?
2 of them, right?
Right. So that means there's a 2/3 chance on each dice that you're going to roll success, but 1 failure equals one sound symbol equals failure, right? So if you have 1 attempt at failing and you didn't sneak, you only have a 44% chance of successfully hiding. 44%. If you sneak, right? If you sneak, then you have it jumps to 89% because you can ignore one, right? The
Yep.
halfling without sneaking is just a straight 74% chance of hiding because you can re-roll a failure, right? So
Yeah.
what I love about the halfling is you actually can do more actions every turn by just avoiding. Hey, I'm not even going to worry about sneaking. I'm going to spend that doing more useful things, right? But your chances of success are actually, a solid 15 points less than other characters who do sneak, right? So it's this cool dynamic
Yeah.
that I really like. Okay, sorry, that was I geeked out on you there for a little bit. So, hey, Cosmic Chameleon, welcome. Any other questions, including you, Cosmic? Not a one, huh?
Have access to the dice. What's the range on the
Say again, sorry.
ranged attack dice?
What are
I don't have to break.
what's the breakdown?
Some of that.
Yeah, you're gonna get me off the top of my head here. It is there is I think it's 2+2s, a +1, a 0, a -1, and a -2. Okay, and remember, you always take the less desirable result. So the odds break down to you have an 11% chance of doing 2 more damage, you have a 14% chance of doing 1 more damage, 19% chance of doing the damage you rolled. So that equates to a 44% chance of doing the damage you rolled in total, or more. 25% that's going to go down by 1, and 31% is going to go down by 2.
So slightly better odds that you're going to go down, but not for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm really happy with the way that worked out. This is a game that emphasizes a little bit more the melee combat side of things, right? But you can have success for sure with ranged weapons. I encourage one of you to play the archer, right? It's pretty cool. And if you play an elf archer, you're basically playing the elf, or playing similar to the elf in Magic Realm. So
Risking the
but
damage
this-
variance, you have the weapon length, right?
say that one more time. I apologize. I didn't quite. You broke up a
Sure.
little bit.
Risking and deal with damage variance, but then you've got that increased weapon length for it, right?
Yeah, and especially if you're playing with that optional rule on weapon length, right, closing the distance, then your bow is going to hit before somebody charging at you with a monster charging at you with a sword or something. So. Okay. Other questions? We're coming up. We have 5 minutes left. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I have one more.
Yep. Fire away.
This
Jim.
is about the legend points.
Yes.
And when someone finds the first to find a treasure site,
Yep.
does that mean other players, they don't get the points when they find it or loot it or anything like that?
Yeah, correct. Think of the example that always pops in my head is Howard Carter. Anybody on the call here know who Howard Carter is?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's the guy who found King Tut's tomb.
Oh, okay.
And even though he was this pretty amazing archaeologist, he is largely known, if somebody knows about Howard Carter, I think it's Howard Carter, 90% sure that's the correct first name, but he's known for finding King Tut's tomb. And so it's the equivalent thing. If you stumble upon the Forgotten City, you get some free points for finding that token. So there's a bonus to exploration if that token hasn't come out yet. Hey, I'm going to make a run to some various mountain tiles, see if I can get me some free points, right? And then the other part is the treasure sites. You go literally. I the first person to find the altar. Other people that find it after me can loot it, but they don't get the bonus points just for being the locator of that particular treasure site.
Okay, the last sentence you just said, the second person needs to discover the place too, right?
Correct. Or take a trade action while in the clearing with another hero. And either hero can. So let's say I found it and you're in the clearing with me. Either one of us can take a trade action and exchange information about the clearing only and exchange our possessions. So you could take a trade, instead of searching for it, if I agree, you could take a trade action and literally I just tell you where it is. There isn't the concept of spying on people as there is in other games.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can't tell you about a location that's not in the same clearing?
No, you cannot. And the logic there, trying to keep it thematic, is these clearings are actually represent large areas, right? And so what I didn't want the idea that, there's an altar on the other side of the map and I can tell you where that altar is, or a hidden path. I mean, there's a reason a hidden path is really hard to find, right? So, yeah, you have to be in the clearing.
Seems like an easier quid pro quo. If I could tell you about a location, you could tell me about one.
Yeah, well, hopefully they're both in the same spot. I think a little bit of gold, Cavalier, to grease my palm. I'm willing to tell you almost anything for a little bit of gold. Anyway. Okay, any other questions? We have 2 minutes left.
This last one about the design. If you put all the maps and all the terrain packs on the table,
Yep.
it's hard to tell which one is forest or which one is mountain or the other one would be cave unless you look really close at the icon. Is there anything that you're thinking of that could change the background color to make it more easy to differentiate?
Short answer to that is no, and the reason there's 2 reasons for that. The first one is we did look into the idea of having slightly different colorations. It destroys the continuity of the map, and the continuity of the map and the immersion in the experience is more important to me than the idea that I can instantly know that something's a woods tile from a great distance. That's number 1. Number 2 is it doesn't matter what something is once it's placed on the map board, right? Because the only thing that matters at that point is really the icons, right? So when I roll those dice, I'm really just matching icons to the tiles, and I just look where there are heroes. Those are the only icons I need to look at. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Jim. Appreciate your support. Okay. Other
Yeah, thanks for your time, Scott.
Always, Parrot. My pleasure. Don't hesitate to drop other questions on the in the general channel. I'm happy to get to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks all.
Thank you.